Hi, Professor. This is my response to week 5. The question states, what are some things that you learned about yourself with regards to privilege, and how might that better inform your practice as a professional school counselor and psychologist? I actually thoroughly enjoyed taking the privilege quiz. I discussed it with some of my classmates, and I actually have referred it to a couple of my friends and family members to take as well. There were several questions about discrimination of skin color. Obviously, I am a white individual, so I never had to experience that sort of racism. But there were a lot of questions about, I would say, women's rights or like negative actions taken towards women, like harassment or cat calls, things of that sort. So I did feel that, I could answer to some of those questions. In regards to, having enough funds or having to pay for schooling, definitely struggled a bit there. I did go to a nice high school, went to a good school, and haven't had any issues with suicide or eating disorders or anything like that, or religion issues. And I actually scored a 66. I watched the video to see what other people scored and, some of the individuals that took the test, and I thought it was really interesting. Like the white male, for example, is like super privileged, and some of the other individuals that were transgender had like a much different score comparatively. So I think that this is a really useful tool. Again, I recommended it to several people, and I found that the students in class that I cross-referenced with also found that they had a good experience with it as well. The reason for taking this test, not only is it interesting, but I think that it's definitely notifies us and brings to attention how many biases there are out there. Not only, racial bias, gender bias, sexuality biases. This is, informative for us as school counselors to be aware of all the multitude of biases that are out there and how we really need to be prepared for our word track and how we're speaking to students. Because even if we don't innately express any biases, even the way that we word things can be misconstrued or can be offensive to our future students. So I think this could change our practice as professional school counselors because, again, it will just make us aware of the multitude of different biases, the multitude of different backgrounds. You could be counseling a student that comes from a, extremely high level of privilege and has an experience living below the poverty line, has an experience having issues with his sexuality, has an experienced racism, has an experienced, any sort of really struggles for that matter. And at the same time, juxtaposed to a student that suffers from all of these variables and has a very low privilege score. So as a school counselor, it's important to be able to know how to work with all different groups of the student body and how to, better serve them and act as an advocate for these populations. So I was very excited to take that quiz, and I look forward to seeing you in class. Thanks, Professor.